Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. I'm your host, Slim. This is my brother.
Jama.
This is my other brother.
Muqtar.
And today, we're going to try and bring this to a more collective thought. I want us to talk about spirituality, what it means to us, how it's affected our lives, what we know about spirituality, how it ties in with our daily average lives, and the amount of people that use it as a tool in their average life walking around. I want us to discuss that. I want to start by asking us, what does spirituality mean to you specifically? And I'll bring it to you.
What does spirituality mean to you? That's such a loaded question.
It's
It's a super loaded question.
It's heavy.
But to me, spirituality means that knowing that the being who created the heavens and the earth
Mhm.
has a plan for you.
Okay.
And knowing that I can have faith in knowing that the best of planners and the best of creators is orchestrating my life,
Fair enough.
And to go to that point, like I remember being super young, like 3 or 4, right?
Mhm.
And seeing my dad pray and read Quran and go to the masajid, and I was 3 or 4. I'm like, yo, we could be playing Mario. What are you doing?
Mhm.
And then he was kind of like, to me, you'll understand when you get older, like creating this whole background of knowing that this is the support that you need. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I went back to kind of play my games and stuff, right?
Mhm.
But I not knowing that my dad was working like 18-hour days, and this was kind of his escape of knowing that, God has me. God has my plan. I know if I kind of invest my relationship with God,
Mhm.
I know it'll come back to me tenfold.
Mhm.
And not back then I didn't get it, but growing up, I know now what faith means to me is creating that relationship with God
Mhm.
on my own personal level.
Yeah.
And knowing that whatever happens to me is blessed, because I know, like, if the worst that comes to me,
Mhm.
I know there's a plan for me. The
Mhm.
best that comes for me, I know that was for me, And to that point, like, I know this is a super loaded question, but I know that, like, when people have jealousy and then when people have all these ill intents, I tried never to have evil eye. Like, when you tell me, yo, mashallah, I have 10,000 followers on Instagram for my brand.
Mhm.
Like, I'm always going to be supporting you, right?
Mhm.
I never wanted to look like, yo, I'm jealous that Muhammad's having so much success. I'm like, that's for him. I know later down the line, God is gonna have me like that, right?
Exactly.
So there's so much like goodwill out there for everybody,
Mhm.
and faith just means to me, yo, this is your story. I'm writing this for you,
Mhm.
and it's personalized for your whole existence.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
And that's, to be honest with you, one of the greatest little points you've ever made just now, to be honest with you, because I really think that what you said hits the money on this conversation, because spirituality is your faith in God for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
short, in summary, spirituality is your faith in God, right?
Facts.
But there's so much to that goes in that, right? That affects our lives, right? Aside from even the religious aspect, right? There's spirituality factors in our life that we go through on a day-to-day basis that we value. We have very much a need to care for and to spread to the people that deserve it in our lives. But you hit it so well, bro. Like, faith in God is a lot of what people use to follow or like to guide them in life, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really great definition. I want to move it over to you, Muqtar, and get your definition of what spirituality means to you, and kind of like have like a melting pot conversation.
I think it's just some of what he said, but I just believe in the higher purpose. I don't think a lot of people believe, or some people don't believe in God, but as long as they believe there's action and reaction to whatever you do, if you do something harmful, even if some people would say the universe, later on it could come back to you.
Mhm.
I think that's what keeps a lot of people on the straight and narrow,
Mhm.
instead of them straying somewhere else. What scares me, I know, like you said, this ties in a little bit.
Yep.
The people that don't really have that belief, that try to look for somewhere else. I know this is a I don't know if it's more of a layered thing for them, where one thing that scares me is the people that see celebrities or something like that,
Mhm.
that cry at the sight of celebrities.
Yeah.
And they put that person into what they call a deity, which other people God, or that's a scary thing. But me, my personal relationship with God and religion and everything like that is I had a long time where I just would have spiraling moments of not knowing what to do, not knowing who I am. But religion, I think, ties everything in and gives a lot of people purpose.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of years, that's what I felt, that just knowing that God's protecting all of us and prayer and everything like that gives me at least that purpose and that constraint that even though whatever I do, I know God won't let me go fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it would give me some purpose. So that's where it comes from me.
No, that's incredible. And you touched on something that's really important too. And you said the word purpose, right? And I think that's so, like, for me specifically, like, to give you my opinion on it, right? I consider myself to be a very spiritual person, right? I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the greatest, most religious person, right?
Mhm.
But I want to be, inshallah, someday, right? But the spirituality aspect, right? Just getting away from religion for a second, the spirituality aspect of it, I very much think is a tool that I use in my life that I need, you know? And we touched on three small little aspects of it, right? The first being faith, right? Faith is, to me at least, so important because it's essentially putting on the glasses that you need to see in the darkness, you know? And what I mean by that is there's so much, like we were talking about this before when we got on camera, right? About, like, you were doing some research online about people's faith, just faith in general, about how people view faith, right? And it's really just the tool that people use to get to the next step, right? Whether it's like you were mentioning stuff like going in an airplane is faith, right? Going in a car and just realizing that there's others on the road and stuff like, I'm just like repeating what you were saying earlier, but like these are things that we have faith in, right? And a lot of people have faith, but when you're faithful to an idea or an ideology, especially like towards religion, morality, I feel like that helps you in life in ways that you don't even know, right? And I want to ask you guys a question. Just tying in, like I said before, like I want to go towards religion later on in the conversation, but just specifically talking about spirituality.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had a miracle happen to you? Like just a small something
man.
that you were so shocked, like I can't
Yeah.
believe this happened.
100%.
And what do you attribute that to?
Yo, man, let me tell you something. And to this day, I'm still kind of like shaken up by it.
Mhm.
So, and looking back, it's such a small experience that happened to me. I remember in year 1 university, I was taking an economics course.
Why
And
would
York
you do that?
University economics is.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I tried to cheat. I tried to
Damn,
copy
bro.
off of people. I remember there was an entire exam
Yeah.
that I seen somebody's exam booklet right in front of me. Right?
Yo,
And the guy had glasses. He had his stuff together. He looked.
the glasses
he
was
looked,
up.
he
The
looked-
glasses was
he
up.
looked correct. So
Yeah,
then I was like, yo, I'm gonna cheat off his entire paper. So then I did it.
Yeah.
I got it back 30%. I'm
Wow.
like, God.
Wow.
But then, to fast forward, I ended up getting a 45 in that class. And that was the first time in my life that I failed a class.
Mhm.
And it really hit me. And I remember that was a time where my spirituality was adamant. And my like relationship with God was like one of the lowest it's ever been.
Mhm.
And then I remember that was one of the first times that I went to my parents' room where I always pray. And then I put down the prayer mat and I just started praying. It was duhr, and then I started praying extra, and then I started praying, and then to the point where I remember there was tears coming down my face. And I was so hurt by the idea that I would have to admit to my parents that this is the first time I failed, and I'm sorry that I am this version of myself, right?
Mhm.
And that was a time where I think my connection with God at that point when I was crying, it was at its point. Like I was so connected with my spirituality. When I woke up the next day, it went from a failing to a D plus
So a passing grade.
to a passing grade. And I remember, and by all means, I'm not saying it's a miracle, but I
but
understand
that's-
it's a bell curve, and a bell curve is when averages are kind
Fair
of
enough. There's always a logical explanation.
Yeah.
But you saw that as your
I saw
miracle,
a
right?
fail
Yeah.
on my transcript, and I came back the next day just to see, and then I saw a passing grade.
After crying during Salah.
Yeah.
That's a miracle, brother. No matter how you try to describe it,
Mhm.
that's a miracle. MashaAllah, I'm so happy that happened to you, bro.
Never had to take economics again.
Unbelievable. But that ties into the conversation we're having. Like, whether you have a logical explanation for that or not, you were at a very low point,
Yeah.
right? An extremely low point, if anything. And your faith literally took you from this to this
Facts.
overnight.
Yeah.
That is a miracle, bro. I feel like that's spirituality showing you its power in front of you. You know, obviously, like I said, there's a logical explanation for everything. But when you're down and you're lowest, right, and you still have faith in yourself and in the higher power that things will work itself out, and they actually do, that is something. I feel like that is something that people, especially like people who don't really have faith in spirituality, they'll brush it off as if that was meant to happen already. You know, that was supposed to happen.
That was meant to happen.
But the people who have faith, it kind of brings you into a new life. It probably changed the way you looked at everything.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So like that is such a powerful tool on its own. And I want to bring this to you. Do you think, or do you know of a time where you had a miracle happen to you in your life?
Yeah, when I got in an accident like 2019, it was August 31st, 2019, and where I took a fast turn, and it was ended up becoming wide because the parking lot I was trying to get into was a little bit more narrow entrance, and I ended up hitting cinder blocks that were blocking the downhill into basically a construction site.
Yeah.
It was basically near the frame of the building.
Yeah.
That's all that was there. So the only thing that was holding the car back was these two cinder blocks that were on the side of the car.
Wow. Yo.
And some people came from across the street to come knock. First of all, there's a side point. This I'm not gonna cuss, but this girl, basically her dad owned a restaurant across the street, came running with other people trying to come help me out the car.
Yeah.
And this girl was sticking her phone in my face.
You got recorded.
We talked about that.
Got recorded. Is there a video out right now?
I don't know.
Damn.
I'm not a famous person. Everybody gets in an accident every day, so I don't know where that video went.
I'm gonna find it.
Find it. I would love to see it.
And then what happened?
Because I didn't want to cuss at her because her dad is helping me.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And he kept on asking if I'm okay, kept on if I need anything. The whole time I'm not even thinking about how the car is positioned.
Yeah.
But like it's being held up, and the whole time I'm going to the car, trying to find my glasses. My glasses are broken. Trying to find my phone. My phone's still working, but there was coffee all over the place because I had coffee in the car.
Damn.
I had a couple cups of coffee that was sitting on the chair in the what's called the Ford tray thing. But that's the one thing. After some time, took because I was feeling guilty because I totaled the car, feeling guilty because of my sister's car, everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, it took me a couple of days to realize I was hurt. But it took me a couple of days to really, God protected me from because one move could have taken that down into the construction site.
It's a miracle, brother. That's something that happened to you that I personally think Allah saved you. You know, and that just goes back to like your faith in spirituality and your faith in God. You know, and just faith in general. How powerful of a tool that is on its own. You know, like when you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, and you have faith in it, right? You have faith that it will be great. That will automatically make your day great, in my opinion, you know, if you live that way of living, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of want to tie this conversation back to religion, right? And I kind of want to go into like our upbringings and how we were raised to view religion, how we were raised to see religion, and how religion has helped us in our adult lives, you know? And I want to start it with myself. For me, I grew up in a household where, alhamdulillah, we're a Muslim family, you know, some practicing somewhat, not to the degree that we should be, but alhamdulillah, we're a Muslim family. We know what we should be doing, and we're trying to go towards that, right? My thing is, over the years, or at least growing up, when we were taught about the history of our religion and like the Quran and the way we were taught, I feel like, for me at least, in like going to like Quran school Duksi, right? And going to the mosque to learn about like, you know, like the Nabis and, you know, like all of what the history of our religion is. I feel like that was done in a way where they didn't really show us the love for it.
It was a punishment.
It was more so like a punishment, you know? And I feel like a lot of the kids that I grew up with down the line stopped seeing religion as like an importance in their life because of the way they were being taught about it, right? And we all kind of went through the same thing, you know, like the you should learn your Quran or else you're gonna get punished, and it's more just like a stricter version of school, right? But I feel like if we were to have been raised with the teachers and the people that were supposed to be educating us, showing us the love and the actual importance of the religion, and like small things like miracles, how they can save your life and change your perspective, and like little viewpoints that we know now. If we were taught that at a younger age, I feel like would have benefited us in life, and we would have been
I don't
better.
agree with you. I don't, and the reason I say that is because I know people who were like they had the most religious of parents. They've had like a good foundation of like good teacher, good Dixie class, and I noticed, and I don't know your personal experience, but the people who are kind of pushed so much into the direction of being religious, growing up, decided to go the exact opposite way.
That's kind of the point I'm trying to make, but it's the style of which they were taught.
Yeah, I agree.
What
I
I'm
agree.
disagreeing
But
with,
like our immigrant parents are so focused on providing like the necessary things like food, clothes, shelter, that they don't really have time to kind of put effort into making sure that our deen is on point. Even though I know what they try to put us in Dukhi class, find us the best of teachers, invest in our like our spirituality, but really they kind of leave it up to our Dukhi to kind of do that, right?
Yeah.
And for me personally, like I've had terrible teachers, bro. Like I've had a time where um, I was learning Quran and I was having difficulties reading, and it's always been something that I was super insecure about, like my inability to read Arabic, right? So then there was a time where when you're in a circle in Dukshi class and everybody takes one ayat and you keep going. So there was a time I didn't know and I got skipped, and it came back to me. I didn't know. I got skipped. I didn't know. I got skipped, and then he told me to stand up.
Yeah, that's the
He
thing.
told me to stand up and say. He gave me the kitab like this and said, read. And I was like, I can't really read that well. And then he was like, you're an embarrassment to your family.
Yeah.
My mom was right there. And all the hubbies are looking at her like, wow, you raised us. So then the whole point I'm trying to make is it's really a gamble who you give that mantle to help your kids grow, because they can either make your child one of the best of Muslims or really guide them in the wrong direction. Because for me, that was a moment for me where I was like, I despise what this person is teaching, and I hate saying that, but it was because he made me hate it, because it was a moment of embarrassment where I kind of failed my family, and I kind of was like, I need to get away from this.
What you're saying right now is exactly the point I was trying to make. You attributed at a young age to it's not your fault.
Yeah.
You attributed the bad behavior you were getting from somebody who is teaching you a good thing.
Yeah.
And you kind of morphed it all together. Like, I don't even want to be a part of this anymore. If
Yeah,
it's going to cause this,
done.
I was done. I think that's the major thing that I'm trying to discuss here is like the way, the style, and because like I'll give you an example. I had a friend that grew up in the same building as me.
Yeah.
Pakistani family, Muslim family as well. But when my family was going to Duxi, like Quran school, right? His family would also be doing that at the same time on the weekends, but at his house with his parents teaching him, right? Down the line, he started becoming way more of a scholar than me and my family, because like the way he was being taught was from his parents, like who he knew that loved him, right? And they were doing it in a way that they know their children, right? And they're taking the initiative to learn the Quran and the religion so that they can pass it on to their kids. I don't think we had that luxury. I think we had and on top of that, an added troubling layer that I find growing up was that we were paying these people to teach our kids or to teach us at a young age for Quran, right? So they're getting an incentive, right? It's not coming out of the bottom of their heart, right? So they can dictate how they want to do it because they're getting paid at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
It's not like the reason why I'm bringing up my friend, like a Pakistani guy, is because he got shown the religion from love. He got shown the deen from love from his parents. Both of his parents are, mashallah, scholars. They, like I said, they took the initiative to learn the religion and pass it on to their kids.
Yeah.
That style, and now he's like a scholar himself, mashallah. He's like very devout Muslim person. Like he got married recently. Like his life is like ideal for me. But the way he was raised was just different.
I agree.
And I'm not saying that I don't value the religion now or I don't value the importance of it. I'm just saying that I feel like that would have clicked to me a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Had not having to had gone through the trauma, quote unquote, that we went through growing up.
Yeah. So, two things that's why, like, I think one thing that really came to my attention was reverts. That's why reverts, I think, a lot of the time they get introduced to the religion through beauty,
through love. Yeah.
So they may have questions initially for their friend. then their friend shows them the best parts of the religion. It's not even the religion that we're, because I don't want what we're saying and what we've been through to be misconstrued for whoever's watching.
Yeah.
It's not really the religion. It's really people's way of dealing with other people, and that's the grand thing. Because I wanted to take it off the religion one for a second and put it on education.
Yeah.
Because we've all had teachers that didn't know how to deal with kids, but they were putting that. We could bleep this name. We don't, if we don't want to. We don't have to. Remember Mr. D'Souza?
Yeah.
Grade 10 or grade 11 computer science.
I recall.
Yeah.
That guy was a piece of ish.
Not to me.
Not
To
either.
me, this guy tried to embarrass me in front of the class because I think, remember those fill in the you had to fill in the circles where
Sure. Yeah.
what's it called again, that I forgot what-
Scantron.
Scantron.
Yeah.
I think I used a pen. I don't remember what
Why
it
would
was.
you use a pen? Okay, keep going. Sorry.
You're gonna stop on my story?
Sorry.
I forgot what it was. I think I used a pen or some shit.
Yeah.
And this guy tried to embarrass me in front of the my brother would want to come to the school
Oh wow.
because this guy tried to
I wouldn't consider him a bad teacher. though.
no, but there's certain piece of shit things that like teachers do in general.
Do you
And
remember?
I had a few piece of shit moments with him.
Okay.
I want to disagree with you because I think that, and we should probably bleep this out for the edit. But you remember Miss McCall?
Yeah, I
No.
saw.
I don't.
You don't remember Miss McCall?
English.
English,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember.
Have you ever had her?
Yeah.
She was a
my-
teacher that we had in high school that the entire school knew was just a bad person. The
I
entire
disagree.
school. You liked her?
Yeah.
Wow,
You didn't
this
like her?
news to me, man.
Really?
Were we talking about the same person though?
She's the Adad lady that liked like Nas and Miss McCall.
Mm.
Oh no! She's
No,
the
you're
dick.
talking about-
She was
yeah.
the asshole.
Yeah, that's
she
what-
was all.
Who's
no,
the teacher?
You're
Like
talking about
Nas.
Mr. Cost.
Yes.
You're talking about Mr. Cost.
yeah.
No, I'm
yeah.
not talking about him.
Oh, so
I'm talking about Miss McCall.
Yeah, Adad people kind of mixed together. But keep
I
going.
mean, just that was
You need to believe that too.
that's a universally disliked person in the entire school.
she wasn't good.
She was just a bad person,
Yeah.
and I don't think she was fit to be a teacher. But that's the point I'm trying to make: is that there are bad educators out there, right?
Just
But-
in general, yeah.
Just in general, yeah.
The Islamic school, not Duxie, not public school, not. There's just people that don't know how to deal with kids
Now,
and don't know how to deal with people that
One-
be put in this position of influence.
one point I want to make too, and I want us to this conversation isn't just for Islam. fam.
Yeah, I agree.
This happens in the church. This happens in the synagogue. I'm sure this happens in like the temples. Like the way we're educating people on faith, spirituality, religion is so like tinfoil hat almost. You know that analogy?
No.
Like the tinfoil hat people are the people that are just like the aliens are
Conspiracy
coming. You know,
theorists.
like yeah, the
The
conspiracy.
people are now people.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
time is now.
Yeah.
or
Those
else.
like I just can't stand that because I personally use religion as a tool for me. You know, like I make the ads for myself. I make the ads for people. You know, like I have this love for spirituality and religion and faith that's so far away from like what other people would love it for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't wear it on my sleeve as much as I do, right? But I still have a very devout, real love for it. You know what I mean? So like I feel like for the most part, the way that people are being raised nowadays is pushing them towards a black and white sense of like a morality, faith, and like just how to be a normal human being in life. You know, like it's a lot of it has to be attributed to what we see online, right?
Yeah.
And we can all agree that social media is a big influence on people, right? But I've not seen people, at least in the last little bit, in the last few years, that carry themselves with spirituality, with religion, that aren't like an extremist or a devout, like super hardcore person. I rarely see that, and I don't know why that is.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, I would see like somebody who I would consider somebody who like is very devout in their religion, in their like as a spiritual person, right?
Mhm.
They kind of get pushed into a box, in my opinion. And tell me if I'm wrong, but they kind of get pushed into a box where people are like, okay, this is this person, they're this way, they're amongst the religious community, and they have their like their set path, you know, like they don't kind of mix and
Yeah.
ingratiate with society.
I get what you're trying to say. But
Am I wrong?
I agree and disagree with you. It's because like for me, the people who get pushed in the box are the people who kind of try to push their agenda as to what type of spiritual person you should be.
Okay.
Because like those are the people who I think need to kind of be corrected. No, by all means, I understand. Like, if I'm out here doing something ridiculous, like if I'm out here hoeing, if I'm out here doing something that's totally against what you like, faith in general, I expect you to come to me and be like, "Yo, come on, man.
Yeah.
We need to be better," you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
But what I don't like is people who kind of look at me and just me doing something that's absolutely normal and think of it like. I remember I went to Ottawa one time and I
Yo, you be traveling, eh?
yeah.
This is traveling ass
In
nigga.
Canada, fam. I better leave the country.
You're going to Jamaica soon,
No,
right?
but I loved Fanta. I love Fanta.
Who doesn't? It's a great
And
drink.
my aunt tried to find ways to tell me that Fanta's haram. She was like, "Yo,
What?
the way that it's made,
What?
there's this chemical that you're having and I'm like, bro, I'm 12 years old. Let me have my Fanta, fam.
What?
So I going back to it, I just think there are people who just have such a negative impact on your spiritual growth
Mhm.
that really navigate you away from the direction that you need to go. And going back to the point, like I think when you get older, like teenage years, like early adulthood is when you start to realize that you need to start creating a connection with a higher power. It doesn't have to be like this, that, or this. I'm Muslim, so
Mhm.
for me, it's God and Allah.
Mhm.
But like, you need to start creating some form of connection with a higher power because you need to be able to have something to depend on in your worst of times, in your best of moments. Like, you need to understand that there's somebody higher than you who's assisting you in your path, you know?
Mhm.
And it really grounds you too. Like people who kind of have this God complex, you know? I think, for example, Kanye West, like knowing that there's a higher power above you who is assisting you and guiding you through this progress, it really grounds you to earth, knowing that at the end of the day, you're not better than anybody here. You know, you're not better than the same person who the same, like you were created by the same person I was. You were made from the same materials that I was, from
Mhm.
the same cell. Your structure is the same from the way God created me, the way God created you.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, there's nothing telling me that I'm better than you. You're better than me. You
Mhm.
know. So knowing that really grounds a person and helps them kind of grow in their path of spirituality. You know
How
what I
do
mean?
people get to that mindset though?
How
Because
do people get to
that's
that?
so valuable. That
You know what really helped? I'll give you my example. What really helped was when I was working for the city. Mashallah, I was so blessed. I had my favorite coworker who is a brother to me now, who is one of my closest of friends. He was uh, like one of the best Muslims that I know. And then I had a manager who was a Muslim. And everybody around me, it was just so much person of color everywhere I was looking. And I remember me and my manager and my coworker, who's one of my closest friends now, we always used to pray Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib together. And it really helped me create like like a little group that
Mhm.
really helps me grow as a person,
Mhm.
you know? And then when I accepted a job offer somewhere else, it was better pay, it was better technology, better everything. And then I was just in a group of Adam people, you know, and I was in a group of people who weren't Muslims. I was just in a group. Don't get me wrong, everything on paper looked better. Like I was getting more money, I was getting more of this, more of that, but my spirituality started to fall. And I
Mhm.
noticed that sometimes it's like what I took for granted
Mhm.
was my community.
Mhm.
And for me, sometimes what really helps you is having a group of people who have a good like head on their shoulders that can support you in this. Like I know I have you, I know I have Muqtar, I know I have other people. You know, it also goes down to who you surround yourself with. If you're online looking at all this Cardi B and looking at all these Meg Thee Stallion and just seeing all this booty shaking, like not
Always goes back to booty shaking.
yeah, like seeing all this trap
Yeah,
online with
yeah,
all
yeah.
this stuff, it's
Mhm.
like I get it, like that's what you're consuming online, but you need to be able to separate yourself from what you want to do and what you see online. And surrounding yourself with the correct people
Mhm.
is really important, especially for me, you know?
I
Because
agree.
I noticed when I got to that new job, yes, I'm getting more money, but my spirituality kind of sank. And
Mhm.
that's something I had to work on myself
Mhm.
and find a new community, you know?
Mhm. And okay, I think the environment is very it's it's valuable.
It is, right?
It's valuable, especially if you're in a shared space that's like-minded, have the same values, same morals. That is a very valuable space. Like your situation is very interesting because you went from that to a better situation on paper, but the environment was different, right?
It's trust.
And you still feel like you lost a lot
I feel
from leaving that situation,
like
right?
looking back, like yeah, I was making more money, but I was happier.
That happened, when and I want to kind of share a little story too. When I was in college, bro, I met one of my best friends, and he's still one of my best friends to this day. And that guy taught me, well, first off, he's a devout Christian, right? Super devout Christian. Is very, I would say, is more of a Christian than I'm a Muslim even. He's very devout to his religion. But he taught me more of an importance of spirituality, because it's helped him so much. He's a person that's immigrated from a different country to come to Canada, so he's essentially alone in this country, right? And his faith, I've watched it help him become the person he is today. He's a very successful person now, mashallah, you know? And I literally watched him use his religion, his spirituality, someone who goes to church every Sunday. I've watched him become the type of person that I want to be, inshallah, down the line. I'm just a Muslim. That's the only difference we have. Right? But I feel like being in that environment, even back then, not realizing that I was in that environment specifically, I was growing to a better version of myself. It was just rubbing off on me so much, because I was in that environment every day. We'd see each other every day, went to each other's cribs, like shit like that. It rubbed off on me. The second I stopped seeing him on a day-to-day basis, it's not that part of me stopped. It was still there, but I started to notice in every single person I met from that point forward, you don't have that in you. You don't have it in you. You have it in you. Like that type of person became prevalent to me in the people that I meet on an everyday basis, right? And those are the people that now, especially like older gentlemen, older women, those are the people I gravitate towards to seek knowledge from,
100%,
because I find that that's so valuable to me. And this person's not Muslim minded, right? Completely different religion. But the way he carries himself, the way he respects his religion, most of the moral stuff is the same. Like how he takes care of his mother, how he values his family. All of that stuff I picked up on it. And it rubbed off on me in a great way. But the second I got out of that environment, I started to notice that that's a rare ass thing. Man.
It is. It's super rare. And then, not to close, but something I always thought about is I once talked to an atheist.
Yeah, me too. I have a story I want to share right after. Go ahead.
I talked to an atheist, and they were like, "Yo, do you believe in that? Like, do you actually believe that?"
Because we think you're the same person, or
no, somebody I know. Somebody I used to work with.
Because somebody I went to school with too that used to have those conversations.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. But the conversation that I was having is like, what would you do if all this stuff that you're that you have faith in is not real when you die? Because you believe there's an afterlife, all this stuff. What if there's nothing? And then I was like to him, I'll still be happy. And that's because, like, being a spiritual person, being a Muslim, trying to better myself every day, it gave me the morals, it gave me the foundation, it helped me be a better person. Because we follow the Sunnah, right? And this story resonates with me so well. There was one time, and don't get, I may kind of butcher the story, but I'll tell you.
Paraphrase.
Yeah. So what it was is, there was glass on the floor, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to push it out of the way, and just for anybody who was walking, just to make it easier for any people, just to avoid that, right? And just that by itself was ajr, because you're trying to support people by not getting cut, And there was this other story that I heard where it was like, there was this prostitute back in the day who saved a dog that was like, it needed water. The dog needed water. The prostitute went, grabbed water for this dog, and that action alone guaranteed her paradise. And I'm like, the reason why I would be okay dying knowing that there's nothing after is because I know that the person that I was the best possible version of myself that I could be. I knew the morals that I acquired. I knew that the people that I affected. I knew that everything that I've done for my community, although what you're saying may be true, that, there's nothing after, but I was fulfilled.
That's enough for me.
I was fulfilled. I died happy knowing that I was the best version of who I could possibly be.
Fair. Fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's exactly why, like, you see the people that are the most religious that are always just the best people. Typically, not always, not
Yeah,
always.
yeah.
Typically, they're just such, mashallah, good character human beings, you know?
Mhm.
And I've noticed that. And I wanted to share a story, kind of going to the polar opposite. When when we were working as security guards back in the day, there were some shifts where they put you in like 12 hours overnight and stuff like that, right? There was one night where I worked at Air Canada Center overnight. Me and one other guard. I never met this person in my life, some white guy, right? In the middle of the shift, and I'm a friendly person, right? So I'm gonna make conversation, especially if we're on a shift for 12 hours, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're making
12
12
hours.
hours at night.
Okay.
Rough times, right?
You were always confused by
Oh, how do you? Okay. Not to
That's
take
Wild
away from
times,
your
wild
story.
times, wild
Go
times.
back to that.
Wild times.
Yeah.
So me and this guy, we have a lot of hours to kill, so we start talking about our personal lives, and he mentions to me that he is a Satanist.
Oh.
He believes in Satan as his god, and I was so curious about that, man. I was so, because we're Muslims, right? Like, never heard this in my life. First off, right? We were probably like 18, 19 at the time. So curious, man. I asked this guy, I was like, yo, bro, like, why? First off, why? How did this happen? And he started explaining it to me. And some of the things I took away from that conversation, it was so many years ago, so I don't really remember the specifics of what he was saying. But so many things that I was taking away from that conversation was that, and we touched on this early on, the way he was raised. He grew up in a super devout Christian house, super devout, to the point where his father was beating him to become like more ingrained in the church. Like, he told me a tragic horror story,
Yeah.
right? And that completely led him to just do the complete opposite and join Satanism, So I feel like faith can follow you to a bad way too. You know what I mean? Like, you can get tricked into blindly following. Blind faith is real, is basically what I'm trying to say. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it can be based off of things that shouldn't be in your life, And this guy was like trying to tell me like people don't deserve certain rights. Like, he was just like the complete opposite of morality,
Yeah, yeah.
just because he follows Satanism, right? So like all of that, and it was even when I was talking to him, I was like, bro, like, do you not hate me? Like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, like, I'm
Just-
telling
just
you, I'm a
wish the
Muslim
worst.
named Muhammad. Yeah, like, is that not like the worst thing for you to hear?
Yeah.
And bro, like, like at the time, I was a little bit more cautious, so I made sure to stay away from him for the
You were
rest of the
scared,
shift.
like, you were
I was
scared?
scared. It was nighttime in Air Canada Center, fam.
thought
Like,
he was gonna do
I
a
was sitting with a
a
guy
ritual on
who
you?
loves Satan. Like, how the fuck can I couldn't sleep that night. But no, for real, like that was actually like an actual thing that I thought about, and it followed me throughout my life. And I thought that, yo, like, you can really shape somebody's character throughout how you introduce spirituality and faith and religion to them at an early age, because that can just completely sway their life
Facts.
for the long run. So like, alhamdulillah, we got raised in families that follow Islam, and we're all Muslims, and we have like a good understanding of good morals in our religion. But for the most part, I find that the importance of the teaching of the religion growing up, or just like spirituality and faith in general,
Yeah.
is so important, and it's so misconstrued throughout like the formidable years of people growing up, that it can shape you to a place that you never thought you'd be.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Like, I want to preface by saying I am not the best of Muslims.
Yeah.
I am not the best. Like, I don't have the best connection to God. I'm working on myself all the time. Like, I know I could be better.
Mhm.
But knowing that I have that foundation, that the best of creators is working on my plan, it's so comforting. It's so comforting. It's
Yeah.
knowing that, like, with, like, my hands are not in the pot at all,
Mhm.
Like, I know that my story is written by the best of authors. I know that my path is created by the best of creators, and it's so comforting knowing that I don't have to work on that, Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna work on who I am as a person to better myself as a Muslim.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, my faith, I just know that it's gonna work out, Having that faith, knowing that it's gonna work out, knowing that I'm putting all of my like, what's that phrase? Putting all my marbles into one basket,
Mhm.
and knowing that God is gonna produce.
Yeah.
It's such a comforting feeling.
It is, man, and it helps you sleep at night easy a lot, because like, when you're doing your part, right? And
Yeah.
like you said, like, we're not all perfect, right? We're still trying to get.
I'm
to
far
the
from perfect.
best version of ourselves is coming, inshallah. But
Yeah.
like, just doing your part and doing what you know is right can help you sleep at night, bro.
It really does.
You know?
Like knowing like the saddest of moments, the happiest of moments,
Mhm.
just knowing that there's a higher power who is there for you and assisting you throughout the way.
Mhm.
It makes you feel like you're not alone. You know,
I agree.
it makes you
No.
feel.
That's the one thing we touched upon is like people just definitely need something to believe in.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
People need something. Know there's someone looking out for them.
Yeah,
Like if you look at like Malcolm X, like he had trouble. Like did you read his book or
No.
watch this movie?
no,
I watched the
film.
Denzel movie.
the Denzel, yeah.
No, like they're just reading back like his book about him becoming. He was a street guy named Detroit Red and going through all the trials and tribulations until he found religion, which is a structure for him. Like that's if anybody wants to look at a story, that's a story right there
Mhm.
of him finding religion, then him finding the Nation of Islam, and then going to Hajj and seeing there's multiple color of Muslims and how everybody's singing in one circle, eating off one plate,
Mhm.
and that having a big impact on him. People just need something to believe in, some of a higher power, and something to find beauty in.
I agree.
Otherwise, people roaming around not finding like celebrities. If you look at a lot of them right now, they're trying to find something to believe in.
Mhm.
If you look at that guy from even Steven,
Shia
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
There's videos on him talking about how he's looking for something, looking for a purpose.
Mhm.
These guys have all the wealth in the world.
That's a really good point, dude. I find a lot of celebrities don't stick with the religion they grew up with. Majority
you know
of
what
the
I
time.
think it is? I think it's because when you have so much success at such a young age, or just in general, you start to believe that you are above everybody else. You know?
Yeah,
And
but
you
how does that tie away from religion, though?
It's because religion, the idea of religion, my opinion, that is, it's to have faith in the idea that there's a higher power, like controlling.
That it's all going to work
yeah,
out for you,
it's
you
all.
mean?
It's yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So knowing
That it already worked out?
yeah, so you start to develop a God complex. That's the whole point that I'm making. You start to develop the idea that I'm better than these people. Remember when I said, yo, everybody's the same, no matter if you're $100 billion person or if you're just a homeless person?
Mhm.
I think celebrities, when they get to a certain level, they start to think that they're better than people.
Mhm.
Like the genetic makeup of them and somebody who's homeless is just better.
Mhm.
So I think just by that, you start to develop a God complex. And you start to think that you're on the same level of God. I could be wrong, but that's
No,
just
I
my
wouldn't
personal
say.
opinion.
First of all, we can't say celebrities. We should say some of them.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
some.
some of them definitely do have. But do you think it's just them being put in an image where they're unattainable? Like people are chasing after them all the time.
That's what a celebrity is.
Yeah.
They're put on a pedestal, and they're given like this platform that this is you now. Your name is money.
Mhm.
You like just hearing the name Beyonce
Mhm.
is there's money signs behind it, right?
Fam, you know there's Beyonceology?
What's that?
It's the religion of Beyonce.
That's cap.
No cap, brother. The Beyonceology, dog. Like, you're crazy, man. Niggas are crazy out here.
That's cap. But so I just wanted to end with this quote because I feel like it really puts everything into a circle,
Mhm.
and it's to the one with faith. No explanation is required, but the one with no faith, no explanation is possible. And that really resonated with me. It was like knowing that you have faith really lets you know that you don't really have to do anything.
Damn, that's a powerful quote, I'm not gonna lie. The one that has faith, no explanation is required. The one without faith,
No
no
explanation.
explanation is possible.
Yeah.
That's literally, in a nutshell, what we just discussed. What a way to wrap up. Man. Look at this guy, man.
Yeah,
I'm your host, Slim. This has been the Coffee Break Podcast. These are my brothers.
Jama.
Muqtar.
We'll see you next time. But before we leave, I want you guys to go and smash the like button. Follow us on all platforms. Check us out. Subscribe. Tell your friends. We got more interesting, cool stuff coming out on the way. And some secret stuff too, so stay tuned.